In just 2 months, Star Wars will begin work on a new milestone, completing the third and final trilogy in the Skywalker saga. It's a surreal moment for this franchise, considering that after all these years and so many inflection points, we still have one major story left to conclude, maybe the most important story it's ever told. It seems too quick to call it so, too recent to be biased, but a turning back of the clock is how I'd reconcile what this is, to a time when the purpose of Star Wars was just as important as the world itself. Following the era of the Galactic Republic, there was a creative void left unattended, a reaching rust living in the place of an artist's negative space. This void, this absence, it fed a wound that wouldn't heal at the center of the canon. It took the prestige of a saga so genre-defining and turned it into a cautionary tale about intellectual malpractice, digging into the fabric of every moment from Clone Wars onwards. As we waited, wondered, believed in a story coming along that would heal the wounds and realign the spirit. And then came Andor. Through all of its creative embellishments, it remembered most remarkably what Star Wars looked like when it still mattered. It has fulfilled every promise, even those made in good faith by the sequel trilogy, and from Season 1 to Rogue One, the spirit of what Star Wars is will now be brought full circle in its closing chapter. In theory, all that's left for us is a season full of sendoffs, to close the book on a prologue that has defined the steps that follow forward onto Rogue One, in the vein of incremental sacrifice. In execution, however, this sacrifice is all that's ever mattered, at least to Andor's mythology. To crystallize how and why this universe speaks to us fundamentally is the cinematic purpose of Season 2. We have watched names run dry, known cold hands cupped against sterile tools, and felt oppression split indifferences into spite and desperation. We have seen a revolution colorized. Tony Gilroy brought us this revolution as an unyielding masterpiece of character creation, world building, and mythology, all within 12 original episodes, and it's become a gift to witness this resuscitation of Star Wars, to remember its nostalgia as one that's honest, convincing, beautiful. It's an achievement Season 1 had to work towards, and when looking past its great speeches and natural breaths of levity, we find a piece of art that is both refined and full of knowledge. It walked us carefully through each passing minute of Star Wars' 11th hour, all for Season 2 to connect the final seconds left on the dial. For Andor and Rogue One, and now this second and final season, all that's left to do is heed the words that started it all. Try. You know, Andor has challenged all of us to recognize what we're really made of, and if we're lucky enough, as we have been since Rogue One, we'll continue to get a glimpse at the biggest story in the history of modern Star Wars. It parallels almost perfectly to the creation of the original saga, where the ending was written ahead of time and the trick was telling the story from the inside. As any meaningful Star Wars will show you, it brings us the world as it is, in moments pure and untenable, nurturing the conception of Cassian Andor into a whole new dimension, and the spirituality of the Force into a brand new understanding. Season 2 of Andor will be the full birth of Cassian's character as he draws his line in the sand of the rebellion's growing ranks. It's through interrogating our convictions that Gilroy has truly mastered Star Wars, and crossing the last few T's and dotting the remaining I's will be the reward for this journey's commitment. This second chapter will give us a complete story, from soldier to soul to symbolism. As we've always known, the Empire cannot win, and yet everyone must still lose to prove it so. So the real story is not in its set pieces or any cameos, but in the living spirits of these characters. From Cassian and Bix to Brasso and Luthen, Mon and Krennic. The stage has been set, the characters play their parts, and the rules of the stage aren't broken. What artistry will flourish from Gilroy and his team in this nostalgic, monumental negative space? A space where Andor Season 1, 2, and Rogue One can be the fulcrum on which Star Wars rests forever, fulfilled, matured, and complete. The last story in the original Star Wars will be the first to tell its saga, by a trilogy that George Lucas would be proud of. Canonically, that is, and how poetically that fits. Good luck, Season 2. May the Force be with you. And as always, thanks for watching.